After my first 7 bouts of gastroenteritis, where I was sick all the time and constantly in the hospital. Once I got over that, I loved it. To me, Beijing attitudes are like similar to like New Yorkers.
Oh,
like they kind of like, as far as, I don't want to say aggressiveness. Sometimes it is aggressiveness.
It is, yeah.
Chinese people are very vocal about how much they don't like you and they don't want you in their country.
Yeah,
like,
we need to let you know. Yeah. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I have Neil here. He's a friend of mine and we've been knowing each other for how long?
Oh, probably 12 years now, 12, 13.
12 years, yeah, 12 years. So today I'm gonna ask him some questions about his life in China. First one, let's start with, how long have you been living in Beijing?
In Beijing? Okay, well, when I first moved to China, I lived here for about 3.5 years.
3.5 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then I moved to Shenzhen, which is in the south of China near Hong Kong, for a little over 10 years. And I just moved back to Beijing about 4 months ago.
Oh.
Yeah. So I got a job here at Beijing Sejong, Beijing number 4.
One of the best.
So they say. I don't. I mean, I agree because I work there, but it's a good school. So that's essentially why I moved here, because I don't think there's another school I would work for in China other than that one. The reason I work there is because I know their reputation. So and having worked there for 2 or 3 months, I can attest to it. It's not my first international school, so.
Why are you here? What brought you here?
What brought me to China?
To Beijing.
To Beijing?
Yeah. What about the first time?
That's better. Like that's better because the first time. This is the thing. So I had lived in Japan for 6 years previous to moving to China, and I came to Beijing on vacation. With my ex-girlfriend, and we were together at the time. She wasn't. Let's go to Beijing, even though we broke up. No, so I was living in Tokyo. We came here, and it was really quick. It was like a week, but it was so fast because it was a tour, and I just felt like it was so overwhelming, that vacation, that I thought there's absolutely no way I would ever be able to live in Beijing. There's just no way. Especially having been used to living in Japan for so long. And then flash forward to like 2 years later, I'm literally living up the street from where the hotel was that I stayed. Right? Now, the reason I chose to come here is because I was offered a really good position with a company that's, I don't even know if I can say it. I can because it's not in existence anymore, but I was working for Disney English.
Disney English.
And they promised, everything they promised came true, like really fast promotion, a really good working environment, and a decent salary. So that's why I came here. Primarily because of the job. And I didn't expect to really enjoy Beijing as much as I did. It turned out that I loved it after 2 months. After my first 7 bouts of gastroenteritis, where I was sick all the time and constantly in the hospital. Once I got over that, I loved it.
Yeah, the food was a bit.
It was a challenge in the beginning.
Different.
Yeah, it's just the cooking oil, and also I made bad decisions. Like you don't.
With food.
Yeah, like street food and things like that.
Yeah. Back then we still had street food. Now there's none.
Gee, I wonder why.
You don't find them.
Yeah.
But they were good.
There were some that were good, and there were other things that I learned not to touch, not to eat. Like I said, after being in the hospital 7 times, and that's not an exaggeration. It took
7 times. Wow.
It took a while for me to
that.
adjust. Yeah, no, I don't have to. I lived it.
7 times. What have you been eating? Like every time same food?
No, the first time it was just a really bad batch of char. And,
it's like a kebab.
Yeah,
like
it's like Chinese barbecue.
Yeah. It's just not that big. It's like
it was a lot of char, so it was like chicken and
lamb,
yang char and char. It was just a lot of it was a bad mix and just bad meat and probably not cooked fully. Then another time it was just when our mutual friend Rich, who was a guitar player, we played in the same band. Another time he just grabbed something and then gave me one, and it was kind of like that. Rich was involved a lot. Rich got me sick quite a few times.
Okay, wow, that's a very unforgettable experience, isn't it?
Yeah. But since then I've been good. Knock on wood. I've been okay.
Would you still eat it though? No.
Oh yeah, I love chor.
Okay.
Oh, I still eat it. Yeah, it's my favorite.
Right. Okay. So, what was your first impression of Beijing?
The first time, like on my trip from Tokyo, was. It's just so big. Beijing is just so big and so densely populated. And having lived in Japan, the language different because I picked up Japanese relatively quickly. And the reason is because they have a lot of words that are phonetically exactly the same as English. So like, lighter is raita or something like that, right? Like, whereas in there's not really a lot of that in Chinese.
No, it's just not that similar.
Yeah, so it was kind of overwhelming, and it was all new at the time too. So the language barrier was very difficult, and when I first moved here, that was one of the things that was challenging for me too, was picking up Chinese because of the tonalities and just general stuff.
Hard and new.
It is difficult, and but when I needed something and I was on my own, I just wrote it in Japanese. Like that's how I got my first cell phone. I was like, I wrote.
That worked.
Yeah, it worked.
Oh, yeah.
But they use fanjitsu in
they use
old
the traditional characters
in Japan, but they could still read them at the store.
Yeah.
So that's how I got my first cell phone. That's how I could read things on the subway too. So I know where the exit is because it's the same word in Japanese, different pronunciation. But so the language barrier I felt was very overwhelming. And when I heard other foreigners like in the grocery store just very comfortably checking out, and often people speak Chinese to you at first, just to Chinese people like in stores and things, because they're going to assume that you can speak a little bit.
At least.
And it's such a horrible feeling to be like. Like I don't know. Yeah, I couldn't even say like 我听不懂 or nothing like that.
I don't understand.
I couldn't even say that. So I'm just like. So the language barrier was difficult, and I think just again the scope of Beijing, the size of Beijing, because I had friends who I lived in. Chongwon, and I had friends that lived in Lidu, and that's like.
That's like.
The opposite side.
Yeah, the opposite. Yeah, it's like
and even and then on a good day, it's like 35-minute drive just to get there. But it's never a good day. There's traffic, so it's always an hour and a half.
There's always traffic. Always.
Yeah. There's that, and then I think what else? I mean, the culture is obviously something that you notice right away. I think Beijing has a very distinct culture, and Beijing people have very distinct attitudes compared to the other parts of China.
Yes.
I mean, every part of China is unique in that way, I think. But Beijing, to me, Beijing attitudes are like similar to like New Yorkers. Like they kind of like, as far as, I don't want to say aggressiveness. Sometimes it is aggressiveness, but sometimes it's just attitude, and sometimes it's just the way they deliver things. And but also this playful. I find Beijing people to be playful, even if they're making fun of you in a way. It's just like, it's not to hurt you so much as they're just kind of playing with you. I mean, sometimes I'm just like, hey, that's good, that's cool, okay, let's but it's that kind of attitude.
Wasn't the weather good when you came here the first time?
No, there was a lot of smog at that time. They hadn't really fixed that problem yet.
Not yet. Which year was that? 20?
Oh my goodness, I've been here 13 years, so 2012?
2012.
2011, 2012, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's when in May of 2012 is when I arrived in Beijing. And I came, in May as well. So
May, yeah.
I also expected it to be a lot colder, but the summer was so hot.
Yeah, it's getting hotter and hotter.
Yeah.
Winter's getting colder and colder.
And winter's getting colder.
Yeah, it's just the weather now here. So, weirdest thing that have ever happened to you during your time here in Beijing?
The weirdest thing.
The weirdest thing.
I think the weirdest thing is you've even experienced with we went out to the mall and there was some guy that just randomly stopped me to take a picture with me.
Oh, that, yeah.
You know, without knowing and just knowing who I am at all. Like,
oh, yeah.
Because there are good.
Do that a lot.
I mean, there are good reasons to take a picture with me if you've seen my music or you know anything about me. But this guy didn't know me at all. He just wanted a picture. So things like that are flattering, but also kind of strange,
kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't know if that's. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen. That's a really good question to think about. I've had bad things happen that are not necessarily weird, but I mean they could be weird because, and again, it was Rich's fault. So, you know, Rich incited.
Yeah, it's okay. We have Richard to blame.
We'll blame Richard for everything.
Yes.
But yeah, he basically got us into an argument with a taxi driver because he refused to pay the taxi driver. It was like. It was like 20 RMB.
20 RMB.
It was nothing. That's
he refused to pay. Why?
Because the taxi driver was coming to pick him and I up. Our drummer in the band was already in the cab, and then the taxi driver was like, "I don't want to pick up 2 more people, so you get out here and just get another taxi."
Okay.
And Rich said to the drummer, like, "Don't pay him." And then within seconds, we were surrounded by people. By
taxi drivers?
No, just by netizens. By local Beijing people who there was not going to be an opportunity to explain. I even said to the taxi driver, I was like, I'll give you 100 RMB just to avoid this problem. Yeah. But no, then the police were called and it turned into a big deal. Because
they thought you guys want to start a fight or something?
Well, we didn't start the fight.
I know you didn't, but they thought maybe you wanted to.
It was funny because the netizens called the police. We did not.
Yeah, okay.
Right? But we had a gig to get to, so we're trying to get to the gig, and we still made the gig, even after going to the police station.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we had enough time then.
Yeah, I guess we did.
Yeah. Okay, so our next question: what made you stay in Beijing?
Well, what made me stay in Beijing was primarily because I was moving up in my job, you know, and that was allowing me to not only gain more experience but also take courses and go back to school, and it provided a lot of extra things for me to develop as a teacher, because when I came here I had kind of decided that I was going to quit music altogether, and I sold everything. I sold all my guitars.
Wow.
Yeah, I sold all my guitars. And when I came to Beijing, I said I'm just going to focus on teaching and sort of build that as my career, and that's what kind of kept me going. Also, you know, Rich got me into the band right away. Rich again. Well, I mean, this is like most of my first.
Rich has to watch this.
You know, he better. My first stint in Beijing was music. Like became a big part, even though I quit.
Okay.
It became a huge part of my life in Beijing, and you know, we used
to be in a band.
Yeah, we were in the Groove Collective. I say we, I mean Rich and I. The Groove Collective, and we played 3 times a week. You know, for 3 years.
Well, quite a lot.
Quite a lot. I mean, the 3 years that I was in the band until Rich kicked me out.
Okay.
You're gonna have to interview Rich at some point. You know, he doesn't live here anymore.
Yeah, he's in England now.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so you mentioned that you're a musician. Yeah. So you've lived in Shenzhen before.
For 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what's the difference between Shenzhen and Beijing when it comes to the music industry, the band, the musicians?
That's a good question, and you know, a lot of my Beijing music friends ask me the same thing. I think that both are equally. I mean, Shenzhen is a much smaller area, right? I mean, as far as the city is concerned, Shenzhen is actually quite big. But the city part of Shenzhen is much smaller. So you kind of get to know all of the musicians pretty quickly.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
I think, because your community is really tight knit and close, and it is in Beijing too. But it's like from my personal experience, I also felt the music scene here to be, when I was here the last time, especially, there was a bit competitive, right? Because you had a lot of bands that played similar styles of music. And even though on the surface we were all like, hey, how's it going? There is a little bit of that. Other Beijing musicians have said, no, I don't feel that at all. I don't even know what you're talking about. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I am, but there's a little bit more competitiveness here than in a smaller market city, you know.
Do you think it's because that Shenzhen is smaller, so it's not that competitive because people just don't really want to be that competitive? Or
I think there's a lot of things, and I think like part of it is also because it's in the south, and in the south people are just a little bit more relaxed.
They're just chilled.
They're a little bit more chilled.
They don't really care about.
There's kind of like that whatever attitude. Whereas I mean, this is traditionally true of every country. Northerners tend to be really hardworking, and dedicated, and again, that's where that kind of Beijing attitude comes from. I think because they're extremely hardworking people.
So here they have to be the best.
Yeah, there's that. And whereas, even my Shenzhen musician friends that are from different parts of the foreign friends are just like, yeah, whatever, let's just play the gig, whatever.
Just have fun.
Yeah.
Together and
just chill out. Well, if you make a mistake, who cares? It's all fun, guy. I'm like, it's a show. Because I have that mentality too. Like I'm very like, if we're going to do the show, let's do it right. And let's make sure everything's tight and we're good and we're on point, But they're just like, oh man, just relax, just chill out and have fun.
Just enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, I enjoy it when it's good, Yeah.
Do you play solo here, or are you in a band here now, like in Beijing?
I have. So last night I just played a show with Greg Luttrell, who most people in Beijing will know, and Nico, who is from France on drums. I played bass with them, which is another, I normally play guitar.
Oh, yeah.
Except when I lived in Beijing the last time, I was also on bass. I think it's something about Beijing and bass. Beijing, it's like the BB.
So every time you come here, you have to play bass.
I think so.
It's a pattern now.
But yeah, I agree. I talked to Greg before I moved here, and we talked about working on my second album together. And then he said, hey, do you want to play bass on this this Jimi Hendrix tribute thing? And I was like, yeah, sure. And that's what we did. But I don't, the short answer is yes, I kind of have half a band. I have Greg and I have a sax player and I have a drummer. But we haven't kind of filled out the rest of the lineup.
So do you call you guys a band or?
No, I wouldn't call it.
Not officially.
Well, there's no band yet because I've written maybe 4 songs for the new album that we're going to record. I shouldn't say this is my second album. This is my 5th album, but it's my second in China.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, so not a band yet.
Not a band yet. Let's just say that, and we'll see what happens. I don't even know how long I'm going to be in Beijing. I'm hopefully for a couple more years, but I don't even know.
Yeah. Well, if you guys can actually make a band, that would be cool.
I hope so. I think we will.
Because you used to have one, right?
Yeah.
And what happened to the last one? They just like.
Which one?
Are they still together? Like
in Shenzhen?
No, the one when you were in Beijing.
Oh, the group
with Rich. Yeah.
Oh no,
are they still? Oh,
no, they because everyone in that band was a foreigner, so
they all left?
split. Yeah, I'm the only one left from that band.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm the only one left.
Oh, right.
Rich went back to England. Tash went back to Australia. Lee went back to the United States. Yaya, who was the drummer after Lee, moved back to her hometown of China, and everyone just left.
Right. So you've been in China for 13 years?
Yeah.
No? Okay. So what do you miss the most about Canada?
Hockey.
Hockey.
I mean, something so stereotypical. I mean, I have to, but it's true. I'm really, I'm not really typically Canadian, to be honest. And the reason for that is because I've lived all over the world. Like most of my, even my university degrees, more of them are from the United States than from my hometown or my home country. And I've lived in Japan, I've lived in China, I've lived in Hong Kong, which I know is part of China, but. To me, it feels like a different world. I lived in Bangkok for a spell. I've lived in different places. So I don't think I'm typically Canadian until a hockey game comes on, for sure. If it comes on, it's hard to see one here. I usually would just watch highlights on my computer.
Oh, right.
But if I'm in a bar and a hockey game comes on, you won't get my attention because I'm just really watching hockey. Yeah.
Is there any place in Beijing that you usually go for hockey games, for watching?
No, not since I've been back, because Beijing is like this place that is constantly evolving and changing, and yet everything stays the same. It's just a weird, you know, and I think this is only something if you live in Beijing you would understand what I mean. You know?
It's like so twisted sometimes.
It is. Because, like, you know, I was going through Dongjimen yesterday, and I'm like, none of this looks familiar. Like, but it is. And even
it's changed a lot over there. I haven't been there for a while.
It hasn't changed. It's changed enough that I noticed it.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But especially, like, last night, we played at DDC, which is...
It's a bar?
Yeah, it's a bar in Rutan Park, right?
Yeah.
And I used to play... I was the house band at CD Blues.
Oh, okay.
Which used to be in the same location. So like DDC is now in Rutan Park in this shopping mall underneath on the first floor.
Oh yeah, okay.
And then CD Blues, if you go around, used to be through this like the Russian district with all those restaurants.
Oh yeah, there.
Right.
Okay.
And so I got to the gig last night, and I played DDC because DDC also had another location before.
Oh yes, yeah.
And I know the owner of DDC from the, you know, we used to play there all the time with Groove Collective. And so when Greg said, yeah, it's at DDC, I'm like, yeah, no problem. I've played there a million times.
Did you go to the wrong place?
Oh, yeah. I couldn't find it. And I finally found it. And then we came upstairs to have dinner really quickly with one of Greg's friends. And we're walking through that area, and I'm like, this is where CD Blues used to be. And everyone's like, yeah. It was such a weird trip because it's not there anymore. But I recognized it immediately. So it's just one of those things where I feel like it's a city that changes so much and then yet stays the same. Because the vibe is still the same.
That's a really good way to describe it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beijing is that kind of, it gives you that kind of feeling. Like it's somehow changed, but not.
But not at all.
Yeah, but yeah.
Like the spirit of the city is always
it's always like this. Yeah. Our next question. Oh, this one is an interesting one. So,
well, they're all interesting.
If you could go back in time and talk to yourself as a new arrival in Beijing, what would you say to yourself?
Eat in the restaurants. You know, eat in the accredited,
eat clean restaurants.
Yes, when you see a restaurant that's accredited, eat there.
Yes.
You know, maybe don't eat off the street. There's that, and I think slow down. Right, you have a long time.
You mean
here.
like in life?
Yeah, just because the pace of Beijing is so fast.
Fast, yes.
And I was much younger when I came, so it was easier for me to sort of, I guess it was easier for me to keep up with it, but I think it took its toll on me. And I burned out a few times and ended up in the hospital for something or other. And it's just because there's always something to do. There's always something.
There's always,
you know.
But it also means there's a lot more opportunities, is it?
There is that, You know, it's such a huge market for whatever you want to do, and whatever, even if you're not qualified, you might get hired for it. You know,
that's also true.
Just I mean, for foreigners, it's like, oh, you can be our expert on the automotive trade in Guatemala, and you just need to sit in a meeting, and we're going to pay you for that. You know,
so you just pretend to be.
Yeah, just you know. I've done things like that before. It's really strange, but you know, but also I think just like I said, the opportunities I got at my job too. So Beijing and China in general, but you know, has really given me a lot of opportunity for like personal growth and in my job and in my life as well. So I'm thankful for that. I think it is challenging to be a foreigner here at times. I think it's not for everybody. And I think that I've seen foreigners come one day and leave the next.
Really?
Yeah. I managed one girl who on the first day showed up at work just crying and just like, I can't do this. This is not what I expected. And I said, was
the job hard for her?
No, it was just everything was too hard for her. Life was too hard. Getting on a bus was too difficult.
That's just because she couldn't talk to people.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the assumption, I've never understood this, because the reason you go to a different country is because it's not going to be like...
You want to start a new life.
Well, I mean...
You have a fresh start. It doesn't have to be new, fresh.
You could look at it like that, and that's the argument made by a lot of people, that you can reinvent yourself if you want to, which I think is a good thing. I've never understood why foreigners go to a different country expecting it to be exactly like where they came from, and why you would want to do that.
Yeah, that's because it's life. Life is just not going to be like that.
No.
There's always going to be like surprises, or, you know.
Well, especially like this is such a different, you know,
it's a different culture. It's like it's a completely different world in here. Yeah.
And that was the other thing. Even for me, there was a huge cultural, like I'd come
cultural
from
shock.
I had to, it was a cultural shock, because I'm like, I lived in Japan. This is gonna be no problem.
I'm fine.
Yeah,
and it's just China.
And, but I was like, whoa, like this is nothing. And that's a foolish thing to say. This is nothing. This is nothing like Japan. Yeah, of course it's not.
Of course it's not.
You know,
it's a different country.
Yeah,
but you would imagine that it would there would be some similarities.
I would imagine.
You would imagine. I think like for people who's never been to China but lived in other Asian countries, probably like Korea, Japan, or I don't know, Thailand, they might think the same way. Yeah. China might be just exactly, not exactly, but just about the same.
I thought it was just going to be, I thought it was going to be an easier transition than it was, but it was, I would say, more challenging than when I moved to Japan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was more challenging. Because of all the reasons I've taught. It's just scope and language and everything. It was
how people react with like interact with you.
Yeah.
People react to you. Like
I mean, like if there are instances of like prejudice, Japanese people are not vocal about it, whereas Chinese people are very vocal about how much they don't like you and they don't want you in their country.
Yeah, like, we need to let you know. You need to know that.
No, but it exists everywhere. Like it's just not a shock. Like you know, racial prejudice, and it stems from patriotism mainly, and what city is more patriotic than Beijing? I defy you to name one. I defy you. Yeah. You know, this is the most patriotic place in China. Yeah, so of course you and it's not like widespread, but you experience it, you know? Yeah. Yeah.